Well, I started writing up a little script, not really a script. It's usually more or less like just a few talking points to cover in these videos. But what I wrote the other day was Marcus Mariota should start on Sunday. And it wasn't necessarily a case of I think that he should as much as he's likely to. And of course, today it was officially announced that Marcus Mariota is going to start on Sunday. And so here are my thoughts on that. I think when it comes to the injury, the knee injury to Jaden Daniels, a lot of us have had some PTSD when it comes to that, right? I mean, certainly the first thing I thought of when I heard about the knee injury, I'm thinking, oh no, RG3. And it's funny how a lot of people on social media, they're just, they're always like, oh, look, here comes the people who are going to be comparing this to RG3. And it's just going to, they're so dumb because this is completely different from RG3. And I'm like, is it really different? I mean, yeah, it's not necessarily the exact same injury, but keep in mind, RG3 first injured himself against the Ravens. And then it was the game with the playoff game actually against the Seattle Seahawks. They pretty much had completely messed up his knee, the ACL, MCL, I believe it was. And, how did he do that? Well, he had to play. He didn't play in the game against the Browns, but he played in that final game against the Cowboys. And yeah, he still looked pretty good, but he wasn't necessarily the electrifying quarterback I think that he was prior to the injury. And so, yeah, people are going to compare because you know what? Jaden Daniels didn't play well against the Packers. He just didn't. I mean, we just got to face the facts as it is. He did not play well against the Packers whatsoever. I think part of that was great defense. The Packers just had everything clicking on defense, and they used Micah Parsons exactly the way that you should use Micah Parsons. And what can I say? He ate that whole game. He ate. With the injury, and a lot of people are talking about this part where RG3. This is the part where Jaden Daniels got hurt, and it was even I was talking about it. It was that hip. What do you call it? The hip drag tackle that's supposedly outlawed, but yet doesn't seem to get called on a consistent basis. And a lot of us were like, that is probably where Jaden Daniels got hurt. Actually, it was the play in which Parsons was in pursuit behind him. Jaden Daniels kind of looking back at him, and then all of a sudden, when he looks forward, he's being taken out at the knees by a rookie defender. And that is actually the play where he got hurt on. And honestly, some people are like, people play banged up all the time. I'm sorry, but you're talking about a quarterback who a lot of his skills, a lot of his play centers around his wheels. If his wheels are not healthy, number one, it's going to affect your passing. People think, well, he could just sit back and pass. You've got to have a healthy base. You got to have a strong base to be able to push through those passes. And just quite frankly, if you're injured, you got knee injuries and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to plant as well as you should. So therefore, your passes are not going to be as good as they should. I mean, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that none of that has anything to do with passing because I guarantee you I am going to disagree with you 100% of the time. So that's why I was okay if Jaden Daniels is injured, then he needs to sit down during Sunday's game, and he is. And I think that is the correct call by the coaching staff. Some of you guys who feel like, this is it, our season's over. Well, it really is going to be over, in my opinion, if Jaden Daniels is not healthy enough to play, especially if he gets injured and he has a season ending like knee injury or anything like that. He's probably not going to be ready to play the following year either. So I think that this is kind of addition by subtraction in a way. I think that you rest him. The Raiders are not going to be necessarily pushovers. It's going to be a tough game, but I think it's a game that Marcus Mariota can win, and I have all the confidence in the world in Marcus Mariota. Now, is it going to prove me wrong? Maybe. I don't know. These players tend to honestly prove me wrong every single time, either in a good way or a bad way. And so I'm hoping that Marcus Mariota proves me right and gives me all the reason in the world to have all the confidence in the world that he's going to succeed against the Raiders. And I think he will. I think Jaden Daniels, obviously, he needs to rest that knee. He needs to be 100% because we can see that right now the offensive line is still gelling. Josh Conerly Jr., obviously, he's playing like a rookie, but he's also been tested quite a bit. I mean, he's not had an easy assignment at all. And so, it's been hard for him. And so he's going to continue to kind of go through those growing pains. But I think that if you can, you stick with them. But I think you also maybe rotate a little bit in and out, especially if it looks like he needs a lot of help. And if you're not giving him that help with the other, with the backs helping out to kind of chip the defenders as they go by, or tight ends or whoever, then yeah, you're going to need to give him some help. Obviously, John Bates being out for that game is going to be big. Why? Well, because John Bates is probably one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL right now. People don't tend to put a lot of credit and a lot of credence into tight ends who are mostly known for their blocking. But I'm telling you, back when we had Donnie Warren back in the 80s, early 90s, he was paramount because he was a blocking tight end. He was a tight end who helped open up huge running lanes for the running backs along with the Hogs. I mean, the Hogs really didn't have a lot of help, but Donnie Warren was part of the Hogs as well. And then, of course, he would occasionally he would get open for a pass. You didn't really throw it to Donnie Warren a whole lot, though. He was not the pass receiving tight end that guys like Clint Didier was. And so John Bates, kind of the same guy. He will go out and catch a pass or two, but he is mostly in there because of his blocking. And so when you're not going to have John Bates in there helping with the blocking, and then you have a rookie offensive lineman who's had a few struggles, it is not necessarily a game in which that you have an injured quarterback or a quarterback that's less than 100% and they're playing for you. So very good call on the coaching staff. I agree with them 130% on not starting Jaden Daniels. So now, what does this mean in terms of the tight ends? We were talking about John Bates, and so of course Zach Ertz is probably going to get a lot more playing time. Which honestly, how's that going to work out with him? Because it seems like it's been this perfect scenario for Zach Ertz that he just kind of steps in and he plays. When you need a good conversion on third down, or you're at the goal line, you need a tight end to get open and catch the touchdown passes, and that's really been what Zach Ertz has been about. And so now, if he's getting a little bit more playing time, is it going to wear him down a little bit more during the game? We shall see. This also means that guys like Ben Sinnott, I really don't know how to pronounce his last name. I really don't care. I know you're going to have some of these people in the comments that are grammar kings, and they are always quick to correct me if I mispronounce the name. I really don't care. I don't care. Ben Sinnott. I want Ben to catch it. I want Ben to be able to block. So why has he not been playing more than he has? That is a concern for me. It should be a concern for you as well. We don't have Cole Turner anymore, and it seemed like there was a lot of reasons why we got rid of Cole Turner. So Colson Yankoff, let's see what he can do. He was certainly the guy who was very popular during preseason. A lot of fans were like, we got to have him on this team, and he made the team. So now's a chance for him to show us what he can do. Is he going to be able to just kind of, is he going to be one of those I can catch the ball for you type of tight ends and maybe mimic what we get out of Zach Ertz. Because right now, we got Zach Ertz. What we really need is a John Bates. And so Colson Yankoff, he's going to have to show us, can he block? If he can be a good blocking tight end like a Donnie Warren, like a John Bates, then we'll be okay. Maybe we won't need to play Zach Ertz as much as we should. But, still remains to be seen. I don't know who's going to be playing, but obviously you're going to have somebody else other than Zach Ertz in there. Speaking of help, we switched to the defense, and a familiar face is welcome back in Washington. This was actually kind of surprising for me, but Washington it seems to have this knack for bringing in or bringing back players of yesteryear, players who played really well for other teams. But they're bringing back edge rusher Preston Smith. I really liked Preston Smith when he was with Washington back about a decade ago during the John Gruden days. I mean, he was really good. I thought he was one of the bright spots on that defensive front, and I was really sad when we got rid of him because I thought that he was somebody that we should have kept, that we should have re-signed. But alas, we didn't. He went to Green Bay, had a pretty good career in Green Bay. His time there kind of fizzled out. He's back in Washington. Don't know all of the details of contracts or anything like that, but I welcome him back because, right now, think about it. If Preston Smith still has anything left in the tank, Preston Smith, Von Miller, guys like uh, Bobby Wagner. I mean, you got some guys on there that can really still bring it on defense. And yeah, defense getting a little bit older in that section, but mm, I would say that I definitely welcome him back. I hope that he plays really well. But you know, if you're a fan of wanting to continue to get younger and better and younger, right now Washington seems like they're headed toward the other side of this. But alas, I am lucky or I am happy to see Preston Smith back in the Burgundy and Gold. Let's see what he can do. Um, really, though, as far as help goes, we're going to need some help in the secondary. Johnson, he is injured, put on IR. I've not been very impressed with Lattimore, honestly, to tell you the truth. I've been pretty impressed with Trey Amos, and I've been pretty impressed so far with guys like Mikey Sandstriel, although, Sandstriel didn't really have that great of a game against the Packers. And yeah, we just need some help on the secondary. I feel like already the secondary is getting thin, and they haven't really played that good, but they've played decent. So injuries are really starting to tear this team apart pretty quickly. I am concerned that if anything happens that really makes this season not very successful for Washington, it's probably going to be the injuries. But you know what is going to make Washington successful, I think, in the future is the fact that it is finally official that the Commanders are going back to their spiritual home in Washington, D.C. at the RFK site. It was passed 11-2, even though I felt like some of the committee members, the council members, whoever you want to call it, were trying to sabotage the whole deal at the last second because that's what some of these people do. They are lifetime politicians. That's where they make their bread and butter. Honestly, I understand. Yeah, you're making your living, but I think trying to sabotage a deal at the last second when honestly there was already a deal put in place, Commanders responded to this. They were pretty disappointed. And honestly, it's probably the two that opposed to it, and those two should be called out on the carpet. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, this was supposed to have been just formality, and at the last second, these council members are trying to, you know, put in something there that will sabotage. We want you to have a $10 million penalty if you don't build enough residential homes around the stadium and all this stuff. And after everybody kind of had agreed on what the deal was going to be. And it was just it was crazy. It was just crazy. I'm just very glad that this is finally passed. It's a done deal. RFK is being taken down as it is, and you're going to have Washington back in Washington where they belong. Now, will they remain the Commanders at that point? Probably. I, it doesn't sound like they're really going to change their name anytime soon. And I know that really sucks if you're a Redskins only type of guy or gal. And I understand. I still, I mean, look what I have in my background. It's probably the reason why I don't get any views anymore is because of all the woke people who just, they're you need to get with the program and it's Commanders and all this stuff. And you know what? Washington Redskins for life, man. I'll still call them Redskins. I think that at the very least, they're bringing back some evidence of yesteryear. Look at the end zones, for instance. Looks like how it was back during the Super Bowl years. They're going to wear the Super Bowl throwback uniforms, which I think are slick, and everybody seems to love those. They'll probably wind up making those permanent, and as they should. So I'm glad that the deal was finally made. And now we can finally move on and don't have to talk about where's this team going to head to. You had the Maryland fans who were like they need to stay in Maryland. You had Virginia fans who are like we've never had a team. Why don't they bring them to Virginia? You had fans from actually in DC who were like this is where they belong. I think everybody kind of agreed that's probably where they belong, but I'm selfish because I want them on my side. And at the end of the day, they're going back to where they needed to be, where they probably shouldn't have left in the first place. Finally, back to I wanted to end this on talking about the running backs. The running backs now. No Austin Eckler, he's out for the season. We haven't really heard a lot. We haven't seen a lot out of Jeremy McNichols. I'm not even sure if he's going to be on the team. I mean, he's had some good games for us, but didn't really see him much. I don't remember seeing him at all during that Green Bay game, but of course, we didn't really have much of a game against them to begin with. But, you know, now you're looking at, you're going to see a lot more of Chris Rodriguez. You're going to have Bill Merritt, of course. I think you're going to see a lot more, and we need to see a lot more from Bill Merritt. I think that he is our ticket to being able to really crank up this offense. I think Chris Rodriguez, every time that he touches the ball, he tries to make some good things happen. So why not put him in there more? But now we have Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds coming over from the Arizona Cardinals, and you know why not? I mean, he seems like he kind of fits the mold. He's not going to be another Austin Eckler. I think Austin Eckler was really good for us with yak, yards after the catch. He was really a very good receiver out of the backfield and very tough. Getting those tough couple of last yards when you need it, those last yards, and so um, now we bring in Chase Edmonds to kind of you know fill in the gaps. Probably more or less a insurance policy, just in case that Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez, those guys go down or just are ineffective. And so now suddenly you kind of start to look at that running back group and you start to get a little nervous because you're like, we're going to have to really rely on the rookie quite a bit. Chris Rodriguez, there's probably we as fans are always like, why does he not get more playing time? He was cut a couple of times. Why is he not getting more playing time? He always seems to come back. So why is he not getting more playing time? He's going to get some more playing time, obviously. Jeremy McNichols, you know, he can have some really good games for you, and then he could totally disappear. And so, I'm not sure what the role is for Edmonds is going to be. And even Dan Quinn said it's going to take a bit, but they have an idea. They got something planned for him, but it's not going to happen right away. And I think that's because they want to kind of wait and see how the other backs respond in the absence of Austin Eckler. How do they really pick it up and how they run with it? So, overall, Washington, some good and bad this week. The good thing is we're getting a stadium at RFK, which is excellent. Bad thing is Jaden Daniels not playing, but we do have Marcus Mariota, which is a good thing. And he's always come in and played well for us when he needed to. And I expect him to play well. But no John Bates. We're going to have to rely more on Zach Ertz because we just don't know what we have behind Zach Ertz. It feels like it's John Bates and Zach Ertz, and then everybody else is like, let's see how they do. They're really going to have to step up. So this team is starting to get thin and starting to get thin early, and I don't like that. I'm just hoping that they kind of gel enough to where they start playing well. Really have not been that great offensively. We got to get Terry McLaurin more involved. Obviously, he knows he's off to a slow start. Hey, man, you're making $30 million a year. Well, you're going to be. You need to prove it. And so, yeah, things are a little on edge. You got some fans who, they're still believing. You got some who are they stop believing early. You got some who are saying season's over if we lose this game against the Raiders. I wouldn't go that far, but I would definitely say that it's going to be a lot tougher to mimic what you did last season. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to you later.